All right. Thanks for tuning in to this YouTube after the 49ers 26-21 victory over the New Orleans Saints in week 2. I'll just kind of loosen the tie here. I've done all my duties at NBC Sports Bay Area. And I mean, this was the Mac Jones show, right? I mean, the guy that so many people, myself included, thought that they would be taking with the third pick of the 2021 NFL draft. It took him a while to get to the 49ers, but he's here. And the thing that kind of stood out in this game is that nothing really changed as far as the game plan. Basically, anything I think that Kyle Shanahan would have drawn up or dialed up for Brock Purdy, that's what he did for Mac Jones. And I think that, it surprised me a couple of times early on when they decided to just come out throwing. I think a lot of that had to do with they just wanted him to get his feet wet. They wanted to get him totally into it, kind of knock the butterflies off, or if that's what you do, knock butterflies off, get rid of the butterflies. I don't know, have the butterflies scattered, whatever the case may be. And that wasn't successful. 49ers had, the 3 and out to open the game. And then even later in the game, I think they put the ball in Mac Jones' hands to try to run out the clock. And, that one drive probably, threw more than I thought that they would have. I think that would have opened Kyle Shanahan up to some second guessing if they had lost this game. But I think it was also very clear how the 49ers wanted to approach this game. Brandon Staley loaded the box with defenders. They were going to make it very difficult on the 49ers to run the ball. And so as a result, Christian McCaffrey only carries the ball 13 times. And I think what the 49ers thought that they could do, and I think they were largely successful, basically using the passing game to set up the running game. But ultimately, it was the passing game that won this game for the 49ers with Mac Jones throwing 3 touchdown passes, the first one to Luke Farrell early in that game. And then the second one was a masterfully executed 2-minute drill at the end of the first half that ends with the touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey on a play in which, Kyle Shanahan showed some faith on Mac Jones. They didn't have any timeouts, 11 seconds left in the half. They couldn't complete a pass inbound. They couldn't take a sack. And so they still decided to go for the touchdown instead of kicking the field goal. And I thought the play call and the execution was about as good as it gets. And Christian McCaffrey broke free in the right corner of the end zone, and he made the pass and the catch, and that gave the 49ers a lot of momentum. And then when the 49ers needed another dose of momentum, another good play call, and really good execution on the route. The thing with Mac Jones to me that stood out was there were times when he held the ball too long, sure. But when he threw the ball, he also threw it with anticipation and trust. And it really shows up on that touchdown pass to Jauan Jennings because, if you kind of stop it right as he's throwing that ball, Jennings isn't open. He's not even close to being open. But Mac Jones threw it to a window on the other side of the defender. Jauan Jennings ran into it, made the catch, and turned it into a 42-yard touchdown. And so huge performance from Mac Jones. And, I was just texting with somebody in the 49ers locker room, and they were saying how just the game plan didn't change with Mac Jones in there, and that he took what the defense gave him and was aggressive on things where he needed to be aggressive. And I think in essence, Mac Jones making his 50th career start, it showed. I think there's no substitute for experience, and Mac Jones' experience really shined through in this game. So, that was a key. On the defensive side, the 49ers did allow Spencer Rattler to have a lot more success than I think they would have liked for him to have in this game. But Spencer Rattler made some plays, and he came through with a very solid showing, second-year player. Again, for him, 3 touchdown passes for him. Up and down day for the 49ers defense, some key penalties on third downs to keep drives alive, some missed tackles that kept drives alive. But ultimately, when they needed a play, it was Nick Bosa, it was Fred Warner, and then at the end, it was Bryce Huff with his first sack as a member of the 49ers. And on the subject of Fred Warner, that play that he made to punch the ball out from Alvin Kamara, was a huge play. And it came at a time when the Saints had scored. And so they moved down the field, scored a touchdown late in the third quarter, or middle of the third quarter. And the 49ers countered with just a field goal. They had to settle for an Eddie Pinheiro field goal. And so the Saints had an opportunity there to go down and take the lead late in the third quarter. And they were moving. They had the ball at the 49ers 29-yard line, and Warner made the play that was initially ruled down by contact, but then the 49ers challenged that, or maybe I guess they didn't have to because it was they did have to challenge it because it didn't involve a turnover, because the officials were going to have the Saints keep the ball. So good challenge from Kyle Shanahan and his staff, or whoever alerted him that this might be the right call to make, to challenge that. And it was overturned. Fred Warner with the forced fumble, the fumble recovery. And that from that point forward, the 49ers were able to kind of maintain that distance. That's when Jones hit Jennings with the touchdown to make it 26-14. And the 49ers kind of hold on from there for the 26-21 victory. There is a chance that Brock Purdy plays Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals in week 3. And what I was told was that, his physical therapy through the week was really good. And initially it was seen as kind of a 2 to 3 week injury for Brock Purdy with the toe injury. And then after seeing him in physical therapy, 49ers are thinking, well, maybe it's just a 1 or 2 week injury. And so, there is a possibility that he plays against the Arizona Cardinals. But at this point, assuming there's no setback, the 49ers are thinking that if he isn't able to play against Arizona, and it could be close, it could be a toss-up whether he plays or not, then he should be ready the following week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I just wonder if Mac Jones's play in this game, and just kind of the steady hand with which he played, might tell the 49ers there's no reason to bring Brock Purdy back so quickly. I think that the 49ers offense did function pretty well without him, and it functioned with so many guys who haven't practiced much. Jauan Jennings, only 3 practices in the last 6 weeks. Kendrick Bourne shows up on a Monday, and 6 days later, he's playing a lot for the 49ers and catches 3 passes for 32 yards. And so, 49ers compensated for the loss of George Kittle with Luke Farrell catching his first touchdown pass in 68 games, with Jake Tonjes being a factor. The 49ers had to compensate for Kyle Juszczyk leaving the lineup with a concussion. So Tonjes plays a little bit of fullback as well. So, we'll see where the 49ers go with this, but like I said, it's not out of the question that Brock Purdy is out there when the 49ers have their home opener against the Arizona Cardinals. Over on the defensive side, one other thing I want to point out on the offensive side is Connor Colby, the 7th round draft pick from Iowa. Almost kind of seemed like an afterthought, at least from the fan standpoint and maybe the media standpoint. Like, boy, the 49ers going to take an offensive lineman in this draft. Day 1, no offensive lineman. Day 2, no offensive lineman. Day 3 goes late, still no offensive lineman. They took Curtis Rourke, basically a red shirt quarterback coming off an ACL injury, before they took Connor Colby. And in the short time that he's been here, he's improved. He was called upon when Ben Bartch had an ankle injury, left guard, and he couldn't play for most of that game. And Connor Colby stepped in, and it sure looked to me like he played pretty well. In fact, it looked to me like the offensive line played very well as a whole. There were 3 sacks. I think a lot of those will be considered on Mac Jones not getting rid of the ball quick enough. So as far as the rookies go, up and down day for Upton Stout, up and down day for Marquise Siegel, but both of those guys also made plays in this game. Upton Stout gets a sack. Mykel Williams had a really good day. The 49ers first round draft pick with 5 tackles, a couple of tackles for loss. Boy, it looked really stout setting the edge, making it difficult on the Saints offense. Even Alfred Collins stepped up. And I've talked about Alfred Collins just not looking like he's ready quite yet to make an impact, but he made an impact in this game, a couple of tackles and even a quarterback pressure. So, a lot of positive things for the 49ers rookies. It's a learning experience. I look at Upton Stout, and this is a guy that just needs to play football. He needs to get on the field. He didn't get out there during the preseason, and I think it's shown with some of the stuff. Siegel, with the penalty, Stout with the penalty on third downs, keeping drives alive. But I just think that the young guys have shown a lot, and that it seems like they have a really nice ability to, whenever a bad play happens, don't let it snowball. They kind of cut it off and they go from there. I guess I haven't talked about Eddie Pinheiro all that much. Shanahan's reaction when Eddie Pinheiro goes out for that first PAT and misses it, it was just like, here we go again. Jake Moody, now a member of the Chicago Bears practice squad. Pinheiro goes out there, misses an extra point, but then, he's, comparatively speaking, he's better on field goals than he is extra points. And he did hit a couple of clutch field goals, 44 yards, 46 yards. The thing that kind of stood out to me on those field goals were that it just seemed like with Jake Moody, his field goals look like someone spinning out on wet asphalt. His ball is just sliding all over the place. With Pinheiro, it was right down the middle, both of those kicks. So I think the 49ers feel a little bit more secure with Eddie Pinheiro out there now. And 49ers, like I said, man, they're going to play a lot of close games, and those close games will continue. They need every point they can possibly get. They can't be passing up, field goals like the 27-yarder that Moody missed in week 1. And I think there's going to be every division game is going to be a close one, and they're going to have a close one against the Arizona Cardinals. So another thing that stood out with this, let's go back to Mac Jones for a second, is that 49ers have not won very many games with their backup quarterback out there. And I'll say this with this caveat. In the 2023 season or 2022 season, you could say, well, Jimmy Garoppolo was a backup when he went in for Trey Lance. And then you could say, well, Brock Purdy was a backup when he went in for Jimmy Garoppolo. So I'll just say it this way. 49ers haven't won very many games when they've had a backup quarterback take the field, not named Jimmy Garoppolo or Brock Purdy. And they did it this game. Remember, Sam Darnold had one start with the 49ers. They lost that game. He gets a nice contract with the Vikings, and now his career, maybe is taken off. The 49ers got some wins from Nick Mullins. They got some wins from C.J. Beathard. But, here in recent years, nothing from Sam Darnold, 0 for 1, 0 for 1, Joshua Dobbs, 0 for 1, Brandon Allen. I just think that the 49ers do have a lot of confidence in Mac Jones as their backup quarterback. And it really did showed the way the team responded. It showed the way the coaching staff called the game. So I think, 49ers should be getting some players back. Maybe not so much this coming week, but Demarcus Robinson will be back in a couple of weeks. At some point, George Kittle, who's on IR, will be back from the hamstring injury. At some point down the road, Brandon Ayuk will be back. But I think clearly starting the season with a 2-0 record with two road victories for the 49ers drives home one very valid point. This is not 2024. 49ers probably would have lost these games last year. They didn't lose this game. They didn't lose last week. And it maybe shows that, as they get some players back, as those rookies continue to progress, the best football for the 49ers should be far into the future here in this season. So that's the roundup of the 49ers 26-21 victory over the New Orleans Saints. Saints aren't a great team. I'm not saying they are, but I'm still saying that the 49ers were impressive. One special teams highlight I want to note: Thomas Morstead, the veteran punter, a couple of really clutch punts late in the game to pin the Saints back and make it very difficult for them to get anything going as far as a potential game-winning drive, which they had a long field to go, and the 49ers defense came up with couple of big stops once, Warner, Bosa, and Bryce Huff. So that's the roundup from the 49ers week 2 victory in New Orleans. Thanks so much for watching, and that is it for now.